Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us today with this update around our new module, the RxTro Events module. I can see the participants room is filling up now, so hopefully everybody is in there. Really exciting news today. Obviously here to introduce you to this new module. Just a little bit of housekeeping. So look, in terms of questions, you'll see that in the Zoom section, there's a little button called Q&A. Please jump on, ask any questions as you go. There's the opportunity to comment on questions. There's the opportunity to upvote questions. And what we'll do is at the end, we'll have a look through them. Anything that we don't get time for, we'll obviously follow up with in our emails after the meeting. Before we jump into the events module, just a general update around obviously the growth within RxTro. So the great news is we're continuing to grow, getting more and more practices choosing to make their appointments available via the system. Just here, we've got a 7-year time frame in terms of the number of appointments that were made available. The reason for this, obviously, it takes into account the COVID period, which is a really interesting time for everybody. The good news is that what we can see now is that well and truly more appointments than pre-COVID. And as we know, we're looking at about 200,000 appointments available in the system. Most of these represent group-based appointments, so anywhere between 750,000 and 1 million potential calls or HCP interactions available on RxTro in 2025 and still growing. The really good news, though, is that, look, COVID really affected different states in different ways. What we saw in particular was that Victoria was much more rapid in terms of its drop and took a lot longer to recover in terms of making opportunities available. The good news is obviously this has been a prime focus for us. So you can see here that with Victoria, it's still back to increase on pre-COVID levels, and obviously compared to the other states such as WA, much more dramatically affected. The good news about getting more and more of the practices to choose to make their appointments available online is that what we're receiving is there's only a finite number of practices out there. So as we sort of move down the continuum, what we see is that there's two main categories of customers remaining. And these are obviously practices that don't make time during the day available for trade and industry, and practices that do make time, but are really asking for a lot more context or an understanding of the content around the purpose of the appointment prior to choosing to make that time available. So that's really why we're moving down this path of really enhancing the value for all our customers with our content strategy. And the events module is a really key part of this. Really important for anybody on the call who hasn't started to hear about this, we're getting around to all the different companies, and there's about 1,700 of them, so we're working very hard at the moment to really just update on some of the changes that are coming in terms of the system. But the most important change that you'll see from July 1, so at the moment when you go in and take an appointment, what happens is you click on take an appointment, and then that just locks that in. Historically, it's just been that Liam from company XYZ is coming, and away we go. One of our previous webinars, I'm happy to share the link afterwards, we talked through the people, programs and products module. So this is sort of aimed at catering at the broad base of users that are on RxTro. So what we see is that we've got a lot of specialists and allied health providers who might be specifically wanting to talk about certain practitioners or physicians in the appointment. We've got the ability for certain customers to be able to come out and deliver professional development opportunities. So these are programs. And then we've got a large group of people who are talking about specific products with new indications, new programs, new products entirely. So from July 1, when booking the appointment, you'll see this new screen that will appear. And fundamentally, when you're booking the appointment, I'm booking this time to discuss these products, or I'm booking this time to bring these people, or I'm booking this time to bring in those products. So essentially, the roadmap that we're going down is that at the moment we're working with all the different companies to essentially ensure that the relevant content items are in the system and ready for you to book appointments with. July 1, what you'll see is that change in terms of obviously that new screen where you're booking an appointment, but also booking it with the context of what's to be discussed. And finally, from the 1st of September, what we're doing is we're enabling the clinics to restrict certain slots to certain types of content. And this has been something that's been coming through loud and clear from a lot of different clinics. If they can control what the type of meeting is, then they're prepared to make more slots available. Examples of this is our CPD slots that we've been doing a lot of work with clinics on over the past 12 months. What we see is that if clinics can be assured that the program is a clear professional development program with established learning objectives, a need and a review process, instead of potentially doing the midday slot, which is obviously in between sessions, the doctors as a group are deciding that they might do a 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or they might do a Saturday morning. Given that what we're seeing is in primary care, there's a lot of consolidation, and we're seeing that practices are becoming larger and larger. Sometimes there might be 15, 20, 25 doctors within a practice. Sometimes doing that 5 o'clock in the afternoon where you can have all the doctors sitting there at once for 45 minutes, an hour, might be just as useful as some of the other channels that we've looked at before. So this is our broader content strategy, but what we're specifically focused on today is the events component of this content strategy. Now, as I said, what this is aimed at is obviously practices that potentially don't make time available at all, or practices that really want a lot more context around what the purpose of the meeting is. When you think about the system, essentially what we've done up until now is really focused on slots. So this is basically where customers nominate availability. So it might be every Tuesday, it might be once a day, it might be once a month, completely up to them how they want to make that available and who they want to make that available to. Events are the opposite of that. So this is essentially where instead of the customers nominating the time, fundamentally you as the visitor are nominating the time and the place, and really what you're looking to achieve is obviously to drive as much attendance as possible to that specific time and place in order to make it a great event. When we look at the challenges with events that are across the industry at the moment, the current situation is that there's lots of events that are occurring. One of the big lessons that I have learned over the last 10 years is that it's not just pharmaceuticals. There's a broad range of people that are looking to engage with primary care in different ways. And this is everything from obviously the pharmaceutical meetings that are happening. There's a lot of private hospital meetings that are occurring. There's meetings that are occurring with private practices of a certain size. And finally, obviously, there's allied health and different events that are occurring with that. So one of the big things is this is a really, really noisy space for the customer. Historically, the main channels that have been used to drive attendance, look, it's always principally been face-to-face, but certainly in terms of any media channels, our experience has always been that fax has been the primary channel to get the key cut through. I can show you examples where fundamentally fax has brought in 15, 20 different additional attendees to a typical meeting. So what we're trying to do is obviously look at this in the same way that we looked at the overall appointment process nearly 10 years ago. And we're going, how can we modernise this process and improve it for both sides of the platform? Essentially, obviously, for the visitor's side, making it so that it's easier to communicate, obviously, events and drive attendance of a relevant audience. And on the other side of the platform, we've got the practices. How do we move it away from faxes? How do we move it away from printed invitations? How do we move it away from all the other different ways that we do it into a consolidated industry view that somebody can actually align with a lot of their learning objectives and plan accordingly? So what we put into the system is really just a simple and flexible event creation section. I'll show you at the end, but you'll see on the tabs now, there's an additional page called products and services. The final one that's just been added in the last few days is called manage events. The form is fairly simple in its design, so it basically covers face-to-face or online events. You obviously nominate the time, the day, and the place. There's a free text field where obviously you can put in the agenda, speaker bios, and so forth. And the good thing with it is it's linking back through to your existing registration page. So what that means is that you're still managing your RSVPs, you're still collecting your relevant consents, you're still driving all of that systems and process that runs the meeting from an internal perspective and basically makes sure that everything comes together at the end. What this is fundamentally an opportunity to drive more attendance with the right people. One of the big things, another previous webinar that we ran, it was probably a few months ago, was obviously the impact of digital strategies on pharma marketing. I'd encourage you all to have a look at this one. We'll obviously include the link in the email that goes out afterwards. But what we actually went through and did was we looked at the digital patterns of traffic, starting off with what the patients were looking at. We then looked at what the doctors were looking at, and we obviously looked at the role of pharmaceutical websites in these particular patterns. What was interesting was that in that meeting, we discussed the digital consumer buying roles. So if you think about it, people use the internet and they use online tools for really kind of one of five things. So they're either looking for information, they're looking to buy something, or importantly, what they're doing is they're looking to communicate or looking to learn a new skill. One of the big things with the pharma website areas, what we saw is that the sites that were driving the most engagement were the sites that were looking at event-based activity. And this really fits well with our digital consumer roles. So if you think about it, it's a communicator role. So it's when is this event on? Where was it on again? And the second one is it's obviously a learning role. I remember there was a topic that I was interested in. I need to find out what day of the week that was on because I'm pretty sure that's coming up next week. So as I say, we'll send through the full version of that. Have a look at it if you like. But fundamentally, this content, that's where it sort of fits with the broader role. So obviously what's the advantage of basically putting it on to RxTro? As I say, completely up to you. Fundamentally, what the advantage is that RxTro in itself as a tool is a huge engine that basically personalizes content and distributes it across multiple channels. So fundamentally, by putting it onto RxTro, what this is going to do is unlock personalization for the doctor as well as for yourself. When I'm talking about personalization, there's really kind of three key things that we've built into RxTro over the years. And this is what we do on a day-to-day basis, which is why we're able to tell you that there's an appointment available at this practice at this time every day of the week. So first thing is geo-targeting. So all of the information in RxTro is tied to our master file. So essentially we have an understanding from both sides of the platform as to who's obviously located in Melbourne compared to Townsville, who the relevant people are that are around Townsville, and so forth. So by putting the content on to RxTro, what we're doing is we're able to distribute this in a geo-targeted fashion to people who are likely to attend in that area. The second thing with it is we have an understanding of priority customers with a lot of our customers. So what this means is that when we're looking at distributing it across channels, we can actually understand this customer is available at this time. Is there the ability for the are they an important customer to you? Is the ability to prompt them around this event? The final piece that is one of the core kind of principles of RxTro is obviously time-aware delivery. There's a huge amount of work that goes into basically all of the confirmation processes that mean that you're due to be at this practice at certain times. The northern part of New South Wales is a really interesting part, and we spent hours discussing this one. And the reps who are based in that area will probably realise they get an email at 3 o'clock New South Wales time telling them about availabilities, and they also get one at 3 o'clock Queensland time. So these are all things that are built into the RxTro engine that fundamentally what we're looking to do is take advantage of and use to obviously drive further engagement with the industry. Once we've basically taken all that content, put it through the RxTro engine to work out that essentially this content should be delivered to this person at this time based on these rules, what we then have is the opportunity to distribute that across multiple channels. In terms of our channels, fundamentally what we have is our email channel, and RxTro is a huge engine. It's sending out about 200,000 separate email notifications each month. It basically still maintains an open rate of around 30% and a click rate of around 2%. And what we're doing is we're actively exploring how to leverage this channel to essentially drive further engagement with these events. So it might mean, for example, that you're due to be at a practice in a few days, fundamentally including that event in with the email. It might be a separate email that we set up whereby fundamentally it's just sending out all the events in an area on a Monday, for example. The big one that we really see a huge opportunity with as well, I mentioned earlier that there was 200,000 appointments that are available on RxTro each year. What we're seeing is that there's about 50% of these appointments that aren't able to be utilised, and this is due to a lot of reasons. But fundamentally, these are opportunities where customers have made time available and the industry isn't able to take advantage of this. Now, what we're doing is we're looking in particularly with sort of online events that are occurring at around that lunchtime slot. How do we drive further engagement to them via the existing email channel? So instead of sending the practice an email that says, John from XYZ is due in today, how do we send them an email that says, nobody's actually able to make it face-to-face today, but there's an online event that's occurring at 1 o'clock. It's got this speaker, its topic is pain. Essentially, how do we drive further attendance to that? We see that based on the numbers, there's about 3,000 individual GPs that are sitting around at about midday each day in this category. If we can start to capitalise and just drive 5-10% of these GPs to an online event and have these as a regular occurrence, how do we go from there? And obviously it'd be a very successful event if we had 200-300 people in attendance. The second channel that we work closely with are the digital media publications. The webinar that I spoke about earlier, it's interesting. So what this does is it maps the doctors through the different categories of online content that they consume, fundamentally looks at it as commercial medical media, CPD based media, journal publications, and a number of others. What we saw was that the commercial medias, and there's sort of three key players in this space, the commercial medias are the ones that drive the most traffic. And they're the ones that necessarily, they're not publishing the latest study on the guidelines or what have you. They're talking about obviously a lot of medical topics, but also intertwined with a lot of medical business topics. So things like payroll tax, things like what the health minister has announced around what's happening with the MBS items going forward. One of the hot topics at the moment, obviously we've just had an election where there's been a promise made that 90% of GPs will be bulk billing in the next few while. A lot of doctors have got questions about that. So this is the sort of stuff that drives traffic to these sites. Now, look, we've done a lot of work around personalised content on these sites before. And traditionally, the baseline has just been traditional display advertising. So this is a brand logo linking through to a PI in a lot of cases. It's not the most enticing thing if you do click on it, but fundamentally it's been seen as a real awareness activity by companies in terms of brands. What we've done in the past is we've done some work with different companies where we've done personalised pre-call reminders, we've done personalised post-call follow-ups, and what we saw was that the click rates through these things nearly went up by an order of magnitude, but fundamentally it was around 7 or 8%. So we're getting a lot higher engagement just by providing that contextual information that, Liam from XYZ is coming in. So what we have is the ability to distribute across these media platforms, the fact that there's a meeting occurring in this particular area, on this particular day, on this particular topic. The good thing about this one as well is that it can be segmented based on different customer audiences. So essentially, we could just do priority customers. We could do priority customers that haven't been seen. It can obviously be all personalized to the user at a very sophisticated level. The final channel that we're really looking at integrating with, and this one we need to do a little bit more work on, but what we're doing, we're IT partners with best practice. As it stands right now, for a large number of clinics, any of the appointments that are booked online automatically go down into this best practice diary for the customer. This diary is their central diary. This is the one that they look at. What we're looking at is how do we put the events into the best practice calendar. So at the end of the day, there's an event, it's got the venue details as an appointment. How do we sort of set that up? Conversely, when we're looking at online events that are occurring in the middle of the day, what we can do is obviously put that into that slot that we know that is already quarantined in a lot of cases for us. We can put that into that slot. And the good news is that best practice actually supports the functionality to start. The jargon that they use is to start a consultation, so they can actually launch an online meeting directly out of the appointment. And this has been deliberately designed to be agnostic to what meeting tool is used. So when you're creating that event, you can put the Zoom link, the Teams link, whatever link you want to do, we can put that into the diary with the appointment, and essentially the doctor can just launch straight in to the online event. The final channel that we're looking at distributing the content through is obviously contextual search. So what we're seeing, particularly with the work that we're doing with a lot of customers around the CPD development, what we're seeing is that certainly we're driving a lot more direct doctor engagement to the platform. What we want to do is obviously give the ability to search, and at the moment they can obviously search your name, your contact details, and so forth. But what we're seeing is with this increased content, we'll give the ability to search contextual search. So if, for example, I chose to search respiratory, what I'd see is not only the local respiratory physicians and their availability, the related respiratory products, and also potentially the local respiratory events. So what we're doing is trying to tie all of those content elements into one search, which means fundamentally I might have started off looking for a particular person, but have noticed that there's an event happening down the road with them. I might go along to the event because I'm really keen to understand this recent change in the guidelines or so forth. So look, the good news, the way we've sort of structured this, obviously email distribution and contextual search, it's all included in your subscription. So jump on, start using it. It's only going to drive more people to your events. And look, we're obviously committed at how we expand and really drive further content engagement with these elements, because there's a benefit for both sides of the platform, and then if we can make it easier for them to find relevant content and easier for you, it's a real win-win. The best practice channel, as I mentioned, we're still doing a little bit of work around. We need to build in a bit of a consent / RSVP, particularly to anything that's happening in the evenings. So we need to do a little bit more work with the practice side of the platform just to set that up. But certainly online events that are occurring in that lunchtime slot, we can basically put in straight away. The medical publications, obviously there's a charge involved with that. What you'll find is that a lot of companies are already spending this money with these practice publications in different ways. So it might be just a case of turning a logo with a link to the PI into an advertisement that advertises the meeting that often the sales team is trying to drive on the ground and so forth. But obviously we can always explore it, understand what you're trying to do, and then come back to you with an understanding. In general, this type of advertising, it is quite affordable. It is quite reasonable. But yeah, happy to provide a detailed breakdown in terms of that. Final things, obviously, what's in it for you? And we've spoken about driving engagement and adoption. What we're trying to do is just get more people to your meetings. So that's a really good thing. And from the practices side of the platform, give them easier access to obviously the information that interests them around these things. The other one that we're trying to do as well, and this is still a roadmap piece, we're not sure. We need to have a look at obviously how the content evolves over the next little while. And obviously there's a lot more conversations to be had with customers. But what we want to do is actually also assist you even at the planning stage of the event. So it's interesting. This one has been suggested quite a number of times by visitors. And what it is the old challenge, when you're going to plan an event, you obviously get the internal approvals, you go from there, you start to obviously communicate it to the market, and you find out that there's a similar event happening across the street on the same night. What we're sort of looking is how can we assist you by giving you a bit of an understanding of events that are occurring in certain areas on certain days, in particular therapy areas, so that fundamentally you might be able to actually plan that. And if you are going to spend the time and the money on an event, really making sure that you maximise the return that you're getting for that. So still a roadmap piece, still obviously a lot of conversations to be had with different stakeholders, but that's definitely on our radar as well. So if you're ready to jump in and have a look, it is available now. It's in what we call the People, Products and Programs section, or the Products and Services section. You can log in. You'll see that the very last option there is Manage Events. It's a very simple form that I walked you through earlier. And then, jump in, create the content. And what we'll do is we'll work at how we distribute it in a personalised fashion to drive more attendees. So that was it. So as I say, look, we've got a couple of minutes. Happy to take any questions. There's no questions that have been popped in so far. So that's often great news. It's obviously a really simple and intuitive system to use. So what I might do, look, if there's any further questions, please reach out to us at support. So it's support@rxtro.com. Reach out to us. Obviously, look, we're actively engaged in conversations with hundreds of different companies at the moment. So if we haven't reached out to you, reach out to us now, but we will be calling you very soon anyway. So if you've got any questions, reach out. But otherwise, happy to leave it there and leave everybody to get on with their day. Thank you very much for your time, everyone.